Hello, the Nintendo Hotspot here, and today I'm going to be doing a timeline of the Nintendo Game Boys. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this. You might find out some new things about Nintendo today. So as you can see, we have the original Game Boy. This was released in 1988. Its screen was a 4-color grayscale LCD screen. Its format was cartridge. It featured a D-pad, A-B select start buttons, a headphone jack, a volume control knob, and it also had a power slide switch was on top of the game system. It This also had a link port, which I can't forget. This was very important. This power to this device was four AA batteries or an AC adapter, and lots of people consider this an 8-bit CPU. As you can see, this is a pretty big clunker. It's not that small and pretty big because, like, it had a lot of space, as you can see, next to the screen, so it made the screen look a little bit smaller. And it was very big. Like, I don't know if people are able to fit this in your pockets, if you ask me. And it was very heavy. Big, nice big clunker. But I'm not trying to put Nintendo down for this. I feel that this was a very good game system. This really started Nintendo off. So the next one that we have is the Game Boy Pocket. The Game Boy Pocket was released in 1996. Its screen was a 4-color grayscale LCD screen. Its format was cartridge. It featured a D-pad, A/B select start buttons, a headphone jack, a volume control knob, a power slide, which was on the top of the game, a link port, two AAA batteries or an AC adapter, sorry. And I consider this one an 8-bit CPU. And besides just getting this in yellow, you can get this in multiple colors. So this was not just one color game unlocked in the original Game Boy. This was intended for you to fit in your pocket. As you can see, it's much, much, much smaller. And lots of people bought this than the Game Boy because this one was much smaller and it looked a little bit better. So, yeah, that's basically it for this Game Boy. The next Game Boy, I don't think that much people heard about this, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. And trust me, I don't know that much about this Game Boy either. So, this is the Game Boy Light. This Game Boy was released in, I don't know. I know it was released sometime after the Game Boy Pocket, because it has the Pocket scale, and it looks like it a little bit. This was featured so that it can release a black backlight for the Game Boy, and you can play while you're like sleeping or it's dark. Besides having to buy a snake for your Game Boy. If you don't know what a snake is, I'll post a link in the description on what a snake is. So this is pretty nice looking. It was only released in Japan, and Nintendo thought that they really weren't going to get that much sales off of this in the US because only like 59,000 to 5,900 people bought it in Japan. So that's not that much if you ask me. So moving on to an American Game Boy, which is the Nintendo Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Color was released in 1998. Its screen was a 56-color LCD screen. Its format was cartridge. It featured a D-pad, A/B select start buttons, a headphone jack, a volume control knob, and it had a power slide which was on the side of the unit. And this had two ports. It had a link port and an IR port. This power was two AA batteries or an AC adapter. Its cartridge port was on top of the rear of the system, and I consider this one an 8-bit CPU. And multiple colors were released, besides just having this color. And it came with a limited edition model such as a Pokemon Pikachu edition. So yes, this was a 56 color LCD screen, so that means the color resolution was much better than the three Game Boys that we just saw. So this next Game Boy that I'm going to be talking about is the Game Boy Advanced. This was released in 2001. Its screen was a 511 color reflectant TFT LCD screen. Its format was cartridge. Its size was 3.2 by 5.69 by 97. Its weight was 5 ounces. It featured a D-pad, A, B, L, R, select start buttons, a headphone jack, a volume control slider, a power slide switch was on the bottom of the unit, a link port. This also had two AA batteries or an AC adapter. Its battery life was 15 hours, which is okay. And it had a cartridge port which was on top of the rear system, and people consider this a 32-bit CPU. Multiple system colors were released for this, and had a wider screen than other Game Boys, and this was compatible with all other older Game Boy Color games, just if you didn't know that. I had one of these, and I had lots of fun. I had the same color as this. I really did like this. I used to play this all the time, and I really did like this. I had a few games for this. The color screen was pretty good. It was nice, and one time the lifespan on this was pretty good because I one time dropped it in water and I just let it just sit there for about a day, and then it was able to work again. So this is much better than like another Game Boy, if you ask me. This was really nice. I really enjoyed this. The next one I'll be talking about is the Game Boy Advanced SP. The Game Boy Advanced SP came out in 2003 at a 511 color reflective TFT LCD screen. Its format was cartridge. Its size was 3 by 3 times, no, sorry, 3 and 3 by 3 by 3 by 23 by 96 closed. Its weight was 5 ounces. It featured a D-pad, ABLR select start buttons, headphone jack, a volume control slider, a power slide switch on bottom of the unit, and a link port. This power light was rechargeable by a Lilon Li-LON battery or AC adapter. Its battery life was 10 hours with the light on, or it was 18 hours with the light off. So that's 8 hours if you play this game with the light on. Let's see here. Oh, I also have one of these too. I'll talk to you about this later. This details was a cartridge port on bottom rear of the system. I consider this one a 32-bit CPU. Had a folding case. It looked like a folding case. It was brighter LCD than the Game Boy Advance, and multiple system colors were released, like an onyx flame, platinum, cobalt, atomic purple, graphite, pearl blue, and pink, along with limited edition units such as Nintendo cases. I had one of these. I had a black one, and I enjoyed this. I think I lost mine because I used to play with my Game Boy Advanced for a really long time. So this was a pretty nice game. As you can see, its style is really slick. It really was good in people's hands. I liked it. And now this was a cool system. This, I think, brought the Nintendo DS designs out with the Nintendo Game Boy SP, the way how it was. The last Game Boy I'm going to be talking about is the Nintendo Game Boy Micro. Yes, this is the Game Boy Micro. This was released in 2005. Its screen was a 511 color reflective TFT LCD screen. Its format was cartridge. Its size was 2 by 4 by 7. Its weight was 2.8 ounces, so that means this was very small. It featured a D-pad, ABLR, select and start buttons, headphone jack, a volume control slider, a power slide switch on bottom of the unit, link port, a rechargeable Lilon Li-LON battery, or AC adapter. Its battery life was 6 to 10 hours, which is okay. And its details were a cartridge port which was on top of the rear of the system, 32-bit CPU, and it had interchangeable faceplates. It was much smaller than all Game Boy systems released. It was smaller and brighter screens, and it was compatible with all Game Boy Advance screens. I never had a Game Boy Micro. I want one. And sadly, this was the last Game Boy. And I'm sad that Nintendo just stopped with all the Game Boys. I really wish that they made some more. So, well, after this, I started the Nintendo DS, and if you guys want me to, I will do a Nintendo DS through the years timeline video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.